Extortion is a 2017 action thriller, which appeared very much as a surprise. I could only find a DVD of this film, and it wasn't incredibly advertised a whole lot, even with the casting of it. You got Danny Glover in here, and you have Barkhad Abdi, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, who was nominated for Best Actor in Captain Phillips, and this came out pretty close to each other, I think like a year later, if that. And Barkhad Abdi is also, he's very much typecasted. I think he was for a little bit because he essentially plays the same character that he did in Captain Phillips. Pretty close anyway. But it's cool to see his name like on the front cover as the only Academy Award winner, even next to Danny Glover, who apparently has not been nominated before. This is very B-movie thriller. This is very what a lot of people would consider 3-star thriller. And I don't like. I might put bad movie aficionado, but like it's not like a bad movie in a sense. It's a B movie. Like it has that B movie feel. And the biggest thing about this film is how friggin' far-fetched it is. I mean, there's films where you have to suspend your disbelief, and there's films that, like, you know, there's no fucking way that anybody would be getting out of the situations they end up in. You know, people surviving certain things, people surviving certain elements, things playing out the way they would. You're like, come on, man, this is like too far. But this movie takes the cake. It goes even further, man. It's like there's things in there that are straight up no. There's no way. There's no way. There's no way. But this is going to be a spoiler review, and I'm going to be talking about all those things. So just let you know right now that if you haven't seen this film and want to check it out without any spoilers, go watch it first. I will give the basic plot spoiler-free first. Basically, this couple goes on vacation to a Caribbean island. It's not exactly said where, but they're in the Caribbean. And they decide to go out on a boat. This guy rents this boat from a sketchy guy just selling boat rides for cash kind of thing. And they get a really cheap ride for like $300 to go boating, explore the islands. They go onto an island, and they get stranded there because something goes wrong with the boat's engine and battery, or engine, I should say. And they're stuck there. They're stuck on this island until Barack Abdi comes along. He plays a guy named Miguel Caba. And Miguel is a fisherman. He sells fish to local markets, but he's essentially a pirate. And he sees this family stranded on this island, decides to help them only if they pay him a shitload of money. And then, you know, he wants $1 million to take the family back to shore. And it turns into a suspenseful thriller from there, basically, where this guy is trying to save his family and do whatever he can to get his family to safety. A lot of shit goes down from there, and it's your typical thriller movie. That's the spoiler-free review. Kevin and Jules are the main couple, and Kevin renting this boat from a sketchy guy in and of itself is fine because, you know, they're cheap and you can, you know, go out in the water and do whatever. But this guy goes an hour into the fucking ocean, into these islands that there's thousands of them. They're all scattered. He has no map or GPS at all. Like, how the hell is he going to know, you know, if something happens, which it does, obviously. He puts a lot of trust in this crappy ass little boat kind of thing. So there's that. But they end up on the island, and they're chilling there for a while, and then, you know, as soon as he can't start the engine, obviously panic starts to ensue. They spend 2 nights on this island, so they sleep there till the day. Later, they're trying to signal for a boat like crazy. They spend another day there, and then through another night. So 2 nights. After the second night, on the second day, the kid is so dehydrated at this point, and this guy's a doctor too. He knows that his son is basically doesn't have very much left at all. They decide to get on the boat and basically drift away from the island until they can, you know, potentially get rescued by some other boat on the sea. And all of that ends up happening is they end up on another island. So they wake up and they're on another island until this pirate shows up named Miguel, and Miguel, gives the family water and everything, and then he starts to carry the child to the boat and everything, and he starts to work at a negotiation, and Kevin basically offers up to $10,000 to as a reward, but he demands 1 million. Kevin had stated to this guy that he's a doctor, that's his job, so this Miguel guy thinks Kevin's loaded, being a doctor, but he basically refuses to help his family unless he gets $1 million. So what happens is he leaves the wife and the son on the island while Kevin and him go back to shore to go to the bank and get him this money. So Kevin gives Miguel everything that he can and everything that he can borrow, which is well over $100,000. I think it's just under 200,000 that he gets for this Miguel guy. And Miguel then, he's the only one who knows where the island is. So Kevin has no idea where this fucking island is. Miguel wants to take him back to the island, but he has Kevin follow him on a separate boat. Okay, so we're already like, something fishy is going on here. What the hell? Kevin is following on the boat. In the middle of the ocean, he's instructed to go beside the boat. Like this boat is kind of like he's controlling it. He's the captain of the boat, but he's basically inside this one-man hut with windows and everything and a door, and he's controlling the boat from this like cabin, but this cabin is basically the size, it only fits one person kind of thing. Goes to the side of the boat, and then Miguel hops over to Kevin's boat and starts sinking it with like a spear kind of thing. He just starts poking holes in the boat and locks Buddy inside. And he's like, yeah, you think I'm stupid? You think you're going to call the cops and get the government out of me? After me? So, I mean, this pirate literally does not care to save the family. All he literally wanted was money. So this leads to one of the, well, I'll say the first most far-fetched part of this film. This guy is sinking underwater, and he only has like the tiniest pocket of air to breathe from every once in a while. He's under this water for like 5 minutes in this locked room kind of thing. He very conveniently and very luckily finds some kind of object that is able to make a hole in the wall. This is all while he's having to hold his breath for stupid amounts of time. And then he swims to shore, and he's afloat on shore, and he's afloat for another freaking night. Okay, so this is the third night now. 2 nights on the island, 1 night before he gets discovered. So he's basically floating adrift for like 24 hours. So we're on the 3rd day now. Day 1, night, and then we have a night now. So he's technically on the 4th day. This is 4 days later that he went to the island. The wife and the kid are still there, dehydrated. A boat catches him, and then he's able to get to the cops, and they're starting this whole search investigation of this massive amount of water and islands. Danny Glover is introduced as like basically the head of the police force in this place. Danny Glover's character is very suspicious on Kevin. Rightfully so, he's a cop, but he definitely gets a little bit ridiculous and how suspicious he thinks this is. Like, he's claiming that he thinks that Kevin is basically making up this story to get life insurance, essentially. Now, how many people do this? Maybe it's more than you would think. Maybe a lot of people actually do, kill their wives or kill their spouses, making it seem like an accident so they can get life insurance. I don't know. But why the hell Kevin would make this elaborate story involving a kid too, just to collect some life insurance? His story doesn't sound too unbelievable, but Danny Glover just gives him the hardest time, and he's saying like the pieces don't add together and stuff like that. And he's not fully taking Kevin's story seriously, to the point where Kevin kind of has to go rogue, essentially, and he does. And during the night, this is now nighttime while this whole investigation is going on. It's going to be dawn soon. We're heading towards the 5th day. This continues to another night, by the way, just saying. Uh, and throughout the night, he's basically on the hunt for Miguel. He goes to the hospital because he remembered that Miguel had stitches on his arm, so there's only one hospital in the land. Like, there's only one place where everybody goes for medical attention. He goes to the hospital to try to find the records and all that. He's asking the nurse, but everything is confidential. The nurse can't give him anything, but she kind of gives him this little hint, like, I'm going to step away for 2 seconds, okay? I really can't, there's nothing I can do for you, sir, but I got to go get something and I'll be like 5 minutes. So she's essentially saying, like, go through my computer and do what you have to do. And he does. He finds Miguel's house. He goes to Miguel's house, and this is where I think the film does a good job in this scene specifically, giving you some sympathy for Miguel, because Miguel basically has a dying daughter, and this girl's very sick, and you can see why he wanted the money so bad, because he's just trying to help his family, and he's a poor fisherman who, probably works a ridiculous amount of hours, but doesn't make a lot, and his own family is struggling, kind of thing. But still doesn't obviously give him any right to do what he's doing. Kevin is in his house now, and Kevin is basically a threat to Miguel's family, and there's this whole conflict that's really, really intense. Like, one thing this film does have to kind of forgive the far-fetchedness of it is really intense moments. And in this situation, Miguel is threatening Kevin with a harpoon, and Kevin has a knife to one of his daughter's throats, because he has two daughters. One is sick, the other one is not sick. But he's holding the daughter, the non-sick daughter, with a knife to her throat. And there's a struggle because the wife comes in and he lets the harpoon go accidentally and shoots the daughter. I'm laughing. I'm laughing because of how intense it is. And the harpoon, basically nails her to the door. It's crazy, and it's really sad. Just the whole way it plays out, and it's, like I said, pretty damn intense. So then Kevin is now involved in a murder, homicide, pretty much, and breaking and entering and all that stuff. So Kevin is basically becoming a criminal at this point. He ends up in the hospital. And he's guarded by police, and he's guarded by, medical professionals, including Danny Glover. They all have an eye on him, which leads us to our second very far-fetched point, where he gets himself out of cuffs and steals a weapon from one of the cops, and, basically gets himself out of the hospital. And there's, 4 or 5 cops with weapons in their holster, obviously. But this guy is able to point it at them and make his way out of the hospital in garbs. It's like, Jesus, dude. This guy, he basically becomes John Wick in an instant for his family and stuff like that, which you would, but the shit that happens in this movie is just way too fucking far-fetched. And the biggest far-fetched part of this movie is how long the freaking wife and the kid are in the island. They will be dead. This is way too long of a time. We're on to the 5th day, like I said. All throughout the day, he's still trying to find his wife. There's this guy named Jorge. It's spelt like George, but it's pronounced Jorge in the movie. And he remembers that he sees this guy basically talking on a cell phone, random guy on the street kind of thing. And this refreshes his memory that Jorge, who was basically Miguel's assistant to fish and stuff like that when they found him on the island, this guy Jorge was Miguel's assistant on the boat. He remembered that Jorge had a cell phone. So he comes up with the idea of tracking the phone calls, every phone call that was made. So he has more of a lead, a pathway to find Jorge and see if Jorge can help him out. He ends up on this bus at one point, and coincidentally, Jorge is on the bus. And Jorge basically books it and runs away because he thinks that Kevin is after him to hurt him, kind of thing. And Jorge speaks no English. And then Kevin has a map and is trying to get Jorge to explain to him on this map filled with like thousands of islands, how to get to this island. And Jorge ends up getting hit by a car or a truck or something like that. So here's Jorge dying in the middle of the street, and Kevin is on top of him, is like, can you just point to the map? Where is it? Where's the island on the map? And this guy can't speak English, let alone speak at all, because he just got fucking rammed by a truck. And he's lying on the floor dying. And he is able to point to the thing. And then Kevin just gets up and he says to the driver of the truck, he's like, I'm taking your truck. Just nonchalant and everything. And then he changes his mind, because he decides to steal a boat instead, because the truck is going to be too slow. He's like, never mind, just take Jorge to the hospital, and Kevin goes on his merry way. He does take a speedboat from these kids, these punk kids. He's like, they come up with like this money deal. I think they want like $5,000 or something like that. But he decides, fuck it. He just holds the kids at gunpoint, gets on the speedboat. The speedboat has a GPS now, so he's able to see the map electronically, and remembers the island that he needs to go to. Pretty convenient, again, but this film is just filled with those convenient moments. And he's being chased by police with machine guns. The speedboat has 2 speeds on it, so he's able to push the lever to go basically faster than the police. But he gets shot, and the boat gets shot quite a lot. And, I mean, I don't see how he's able to drive this speedboat and be pummeled with bullets, and every single fucking bullet misses him. And even if they do, they're hitting the boat, so the boat is eventually gonna, not be able to function properly. But he gets to the island with the speedboat, finally. This is evening, and we're approaching the 5th night. So this is 5 nights, 6 days that the wife and kids were on the island, and literally he pretty much made it clear that on the 2nd day or 3rd day after the 2nd night that the kid had like hours. There's no water on this island. It didn't rain. They would have to drink salt water, which doesn't hydrate you. And he just gets there. They're passed out, but they're still breathing, and and happily ever after, I guess. If this film wasn't that far-fetched, it actually wouldn't be that bad, because for a B-movie thriller, it's fun, and it is about a guy, doing everything he can possibly do to save his family, but there's no damn way in hell that anything that plays out in this movie would play out the way it did. And also, they didn't make Danny Glover that likable. He's too, he's such a shitty, like, I don't know what the word to describe Danny Glover is, but an unsympathetic, by the book cop that is just not really realistic, or he's not looking at the situation like a regular cop with any kind of sympathy would look at the situation. He's like, no, you gotta be guilty. You gotta be like, he must have been burnt a lot in his career, and discovered a lot of people who want to make up stories and murder their family members for money, I guess. But I mean, at no point did Kevin at any point have any ungenuineness in his face when it came to his family being stuck on an island and needing help. And like I said, this film also is filled with really gut-wrenching, gut-punching moments when it comes to family and what people will do, including Miguel, doing anything for their family. So I like that plot point. It's just so far-fetched and so ridiculous that you can't take this movie seriously, and that's its main problem. And I saw it. I saw the trailer, and I bought it on a whim because the trailer is great, and the cinematography is also really nice here too. The Caribbean islands, the oceans, everything looks beautiful. And then when it starts to get into its darker moments too, the cinematography starts to get a little bit more grayish, so you get that more like dark feel and sense. But yeah, the atmosphere is great. The locations are great, and there's really tense moments. And like I said, I was sold on the trailer because of Barack Abdi, Barack Abdi, sorry, specifically because I loved him in Captain Phillips, and I at that point I wanted to see what else he can do. Like I said, it's essentially the same character as he was in Captain Phillips, but it's cool to see him as, I don't know if he was an actor before Captain Phillips, like a certified actor. But you know, respect to him for all the success that he's gotten since Captain Phillips, even if he didn't continue it for a very long time. It's cool. It's cool to see him show up again, and he plays his character really well. He delivers in what he needs to deliver in, and it's a cool flick, but it can't be taken seriously, and it's just too unbelievable that at a point you're just checked out. That's the thing about this movie. You check out because it's so fucking ridiculous. And it's too bad, because if it wasn't that ridiculous, it would actually be a pretty cool film. It also wasn't advertised that much, which is surprising because it came out very close to when Captain Phillips came out, and this is at like the peak of this dude's career, and it has Danny Glover in there too. So, you know, unfortunately they didn't utilize his character as a hero, which we all like seeing Danny Glover be the hero kind of thing. But it's all right. It's all right. There's worse, and at least the film is entertaining as much as it is far-fetched and has you check out from it like crazy. It's probably the most far-fetched and unrealistic action film, I should say, that I've ever seen. Like, we're talking more unrealistic than like your Rambos and your Die Hards and your you know, Commando and all that. Like, this is one hell of a film, turn your brain off kind of thing. But it's entertaining. It has that going for it. So that's what I got on Extortion. Like I said, it wasn't talked about very much, but go find it somewhere, especially if it's streaming. You know, it's not a waste of time. You can definitely see worse, and it ain't that bad. But don't expect to roll your eyes a lot. Subscribe to Morgan Film Fan if you like to listen to my voice, or if you like my film reviews. I'll be back with more soon, so stay tuned for those. Check what's on the channel already. Stay tuned for what's coming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care and cheers.